Does Apple know you are a shareholder? How about Disney? Or in fact, Nvidia? If you own shares in the United States, does the company or the issuer know if you hold them or not and how many you have? Well, honestly, it depends. The United States system has two ways of ownership. The first being, the more simple one, registered holders. So what does that actually mean? Well, let's take Disney, which is a better example. Disney doesn't keep track of the shares on its own. Its main job is to make movies, do the park, and all of that, so they outsource it to a transfer agent. Disney's transfer agent right now is Computershare, but that definitely can change. It goes back and forth. But what does that really mean? So if you own shares outright through the transfer agent, it's on the books and records so the issuer can see it. Why would that happen? Well, a great example is, let's say, the early 2000s or the 90s. Your nephew was just born and you want to give them a gift that appreciates in value. A lot of people would go to Disney and get a stock certificate through the transfer agent, so we'd call this a registered share, and hang it up over the crib. Disney is a great example because back in the day, they used to print it with Disney characters on it. So think Mickey, Minnie, whoever, and you'd go to the transfer agent and you'd say, hey, I want to get 50 shares for my nephew's family, put it in whoever's name made sense, whether it be your sister, your brother, or the nephew or yourself. And let's hang this over around the crib, and when they get of age, maybe it can help pay for college. Now, this is currently a small percentage of owners in the United States, and it is no longer as popular, and many companies don't actually allow for registered holding, but it does definitely still exist. And in that situation, the company does know who you are. However, if you're like me and most Americans, you own shares through a brokerage account, whether it be Schwab, Fidelity, Robinhood, one of these many accounts. And then it gets a little bit more complicated if the issuer, Disney, can figure out who you are. So let's follow the chain of command here. Disney, the issuer, their transfer agent, Computershare, and then there's a new player, the DTCC, or on the books of the transfer agent, Cede Co. This would basically be the largest custodian in the United States. They're the ones who really house all the shares that the brokerage have. There's a lot of practical reasons why it's set up like this, and it's definitely helped things go more smoothly since the days of paper. But what you need to know right now is there's a massive central depository that has the records here. So the transfer agent will say, Joan has 10 shares as a registered holder, Jacob has 5, and Cede Co has 10 million shares. So let's go to the DTC. The DTC has all of their shares in separate omnibus accounts. So their ledger is going to show Fidelity has 2 million shares, Robinhood has 1, Schwab has 3, and so forth and so on. So these omnibus accounts directly relate to the brokerages. And at the end of the year and times, depending on events, there will be times where you have to reconcile this. Now the brokers, and I personally use Robinhood, have their own internal ledger. So they see that omnibus number and it's broken down on their internal system, corresponding to whoever owns what. So Harrison might have 50 shares, Susie might have 1, Jan may have 2,000. And that's how it's parsed out. Now you might be thinking, how does the issuer know who you are? Well, that really depends. If you have a broker, you usually have the option to go into settings and choose NOBO or OBO. NOBO means non-objecting beneficial owner. So basically it allows the issuer transfer agent to come and ask, hey, who actually owns these shares? It's good for reaching out and it's good for record keeping. They just want to know this information. If you go OBO, the broker says, no, buddy. I'm not going to tell you who owns these shares. They're objecting. And then it gets a little bit more complicated to get the information to you, but that's how the system really works. So if you are a beneficial holder, I implore you to look at your settings and see if you can find the NOBO-OBO list and decide for yourself if you want the issuer to see it. And if you're a registered holder, good on you for holding shares for a long time. It's definitely no longer in vogue to be a registered shareholder, but it still exists and there is a large share base. A lot of people have these certificates. And although the certificates don't actually mean you own the shares, if you still have them, there's likely that your name is still on the transfer agent's registry. And you can definitely reach out and ask to sell or ask more information about that. So I hope you found this interesting, explaining whether or not the issuer knows if you are a shareholder or not. And maybe in the next video, I'll explain a little bit more about the DTCC or stock ownership. Would love to hear from you, whatever you're interested in. And don't forget to subscribe.